What's up, y'all? You are listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative M Projects. I'm your host, Melissa Sharee, and I have a beautiful feature, Alexandria Queen-Sneed, aka Queen. Yes, I will be using that, okay, several times. She is a proud Baltimore native residing in Los Angeles with her husband and two children. She is an award winning TV producer, creative coach, and entrepreneur with a passion for building community. Love that. A proud Howard University alum, Alexandria has built a career in the unscripted genre of television over the past 15 years. Okay. Some of her credits include the NAACP Awards, Black Girls Rock. Yes, they do. Kennedy Center Honors, BET Hip Hop Awards, Rhythm and Flow on Netflix, Home Sweet Home on NBC, and many more projects on a variety of platforms. We can ask her about that. But Alexandria believes that when given the right tools, every person's unique gift can impact the world and that there is enough room for all of us to win. Mhm. She feels deeply connected to helping people see themselves and consequently the world with clarity. And here's something that I love. She lives by the philosophy that we are not all called to do everything, but everyone is called to something. Do that. Yes, in quotes. Girl, you need that on a t-shirt. Alexandria maintains that her greatest achievements are being a mom, building a beautiful life with her high school sweetheart. Well, hello now. And chopping it up with her family as much as possible. Queen, welcome.
What's up? Thanks for having me. What's going on?
Oh, yes. Thank you for saying yes. I love that you said yes.
Yeah, of course.
You know what? First of all, let me just say, okay, everybody cannot rock the word queen. Now, when I say that, okay, yes, we are all queens, but everybody doesn't necessarily rock the fact that they are a queen. One
Okay.
thing that I can say about you is that you have a presence. You have the presence of a queen whenever you
Oh, wow.
step into the room. There's just something about you, and it can even be intimidating. That's for sure.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, do you get that all the time that people, acknowledge and recognize your queenness?
I do, but it's interesting. I'm learning to accept that, but it's something that I've been told for a long time that I did, and I was like, "What do you mean? I'm just a person, like I'm a regular person." But I can acknowledge that there's like, and I think that's a part of becoming to, you start to like pick up on what you're putting down because we don't always know what we giving off. So yeah, I used to like think it as a bad thing. Like I was like, well, I'm not trying to act like I'm better than nobody else, but now I realize like that's not what people saying. So yeah, I guess I do hear it a lot. It's interesting.
Hmm. And you said you're learning to accept that. Now that strikes me. What exactly does that mean for you that you're learning to accept that?
It means that I'm learning to own it, right? Because if
Mm.
when I think about, just that word, like when I think about queen or somebody that's like royalty, it's like an air that I think about, that they have. And so in my mind, I used to carry this little chip on my shoulder where like I don't, I'm cool, like I'm on myself, but I don't want nobody to feel like I'm, not like we all on the same level. We all whatever. And I think for me, what I was realizing was that I was making myself shrink because I was like afraid of some notion of me that wasn't even true. And so when I say I'm learning to accept it, it's like me owning the fact that, you know what? I do have a presence. I do carry something strong. I do bring that. And the more I own it, the more I lean into it, the more I actually can like wield my power versus like stumbling into it. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is,
Yeah.
no matter what, I think that's the cool thing about the way God gives us all is like whatever you're good at, whatever you do, you're gonna do it no matter what. But you can either own it and roll with it, or it could just you could be doing it and falling into it all the time. But you get so much more when you own it. So that's where I'm at. I'm like learning to own it. You know.
Love that. Love that. It's interesting because I think in creative spaces, when you are out in front, like performance art, it's like you learn how to step out there and have a presence and
Mm-hmm.
be in that presence and kind of like wield that power, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's acceptable because you're a performer. But it's interesting how in other lanes that doesn't necessarily always translate the same. It might be perceived as, oh, she thinks she's all that, oh, she's so aggressive, and I'm saying she just because we're
Yeah.
she's, but it could apply to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
um Now, have you found, because now your lane isn't necessarily performance in terms of in front of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
or is there something I don't know in terms of you being a performer?
You
But
know
most of
what?
your stuff is creative behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, all of my professional work has been creative behind the scenes. But it's so funny that you asked this because I've literally been in a space lately of just wanting to like tap into the parts of my creative voice that I've quieted for a long time or just kind of haven't looked at. But I was I was acting from the time I was 8. I was even a theater minor in college, all the way up, plays, musicals, all of that. Like I thought I was going to be in front of the camera. That was my goal. And then I
Mm-hmm.
just flipped, and so but what's interesting is that performer, that presence is still in me, like I could feel it. So it's interesting. It's something that I've been like dabbling into, like, man, maybe I'll take an improv class, like just wake that up a little bit, because it's a interesting thing. But yeah, no, most of all of my professional work is behind the camera, which I love. And I love pulling story out of people and putting things together. So I really I do love that.
I just learned something new about you, and it makes so much sense. Okay, no wonder you were doing theater when you were younger,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
you have a natural ability. Like I said, that's back to your presence. That's back to your presence. Okay, so wait, we gotta talk about this for a second, okay? Because you said at a certain point in time, like it flipped, like you wanted to be an actress or doing your thing with the theater,
mm-hmm.
and then when did it flip exactly? What happened? Do you know?
Mm, you know, I've been trying to figure this out lately, actually. But I think the flip happened because it all in high school. I was in all of the plays. I was in the musicals. And I don't know. I think, and then, like I said, in college, I majored in TV and I minored in theater. When I was at Howard, and then I think I don't know. I think what happened was that I just saw a lane. Like I saw a lot of people going for acting maybe, but I don't know what the line was, because I but it might have been that shift in college, honestly, when I made television my main thing and made theater my minor. That was like me starting to put it on the back burner because it was like my main
Mm-hmm.
thing all the way up and through high school. And then in college, I think I went that direction. Um, and because I didn't audition or do anything, but it could have been connected. Because see, I auditioned. Have you ever heard of the Baltimore School for the Arts?
No.
Okay, so that's where Jada Pinkett went. Tupac went there.
Okay.
Um, really well, like renowned school for the arts. But I auditioned there, and I didn't get in. That's a high school. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember that. I remember being like doing all this acting, and I didn't get in for high school. So I ended up going to my local high school, but it totally worked out. I still was able to be in theater and everything. But I feel like some part of that made me not want to be in a position where I needed to audition for anything anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like on a big risky scale, I guess. And so maybe that's what it is, but I don't know, girl. I'm out here processing with you right here on this podcast.
Yes, that's what we do here, though. We process so that others that are listening who are also processing
Yeah.
might pick up a little something that's going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, what I actually love that we've landed here because when it was time for me to go off to college, now, you know what? I did go to a performing arts high school, but
Okay.
by the time I got ready to go to college, I had been doing this since I was like 4.
Mm.
So that's what you figure 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, you know what? It hasn't happened. And I'm going to do something that's going to pay the bills
Mm-hmm.
that my mom can be like proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so then I just went in a whole different intellectual collegiate lane. And I did, put all of those things kind of like on the shelf, not a back burner.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when you have that love and that passion about something and it's in there, like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So, fast forward, like, I don't know for how many years, and I relocated back to California, and it was like, no, I still have to do the things that are on my heart to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're thinking about those spaces that you said that you've kind of quieted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
about to hear you roar.
Yeah, listen, I receive that. Well, you know what it is? It's what I'm realizing is that I'm at a place in my producing even where my voice is really necessary, right? So I'm not just in supportive roles anymore, though every supportive role is important in a production. So I don't want to act like that's not the case, but you get to a point creatively as a supervising or executive producer, whatever, where like now it's like it's your voice, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm realizing that parts of my voice are locked up in that part of my creative being, right?
Mm.
So I'm not even able, it's almost like I'm speaking, but I can tell that I'm like I'm not speaking clearly. It's not my full voice. So for me, I think even tapping into these spaces is like, I don't know that I'm able to, I'm telling great stories, but I'm like, there's something more that I have to say. And I think I got to let her loose all the way around to get it all the way out. It's like I'm stuttering, but the stutter is connected to me trying to hold something in, you know?
Mm. That's deep. The stutter's connected to you trying to hold something in. What would you say to someone? Because, I mean, we're young.
Mhm,
However, we've been at some things for a little while.
mhm, mhm,
So there's somebody that may be listening who may be thinking, what are they talking about? Finding their voice and their voice is locked up. Like,
mhm.
or somebody that's like, I don't know what my voice is, and I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
Like, what would you say to that person in terms of getting to the place where they actually know, I guess, more of who they are and what it is that they're trying to say or share with the world around them?
Yeah.
Like, how
I
did you get there?
I think I'm getting there. I think I'm going to continue to get there. But I think I'm where I am now or I'll say this. I think sometimes the best way of finding your voice is finding out what's not your voice. Right.
Mm,
So I've done a lot, and that means trying things. I've done a lot of things, and I've tried
mhm,
working in a lot of realms of television and lots of different types of projects and lots of different types of roles. Um, I think at this stage, because it's been about, mm, yeah, I guess it's been almost like 15 years that I've been in the industry now. Uh,
mhm,
um, when I when I'm talking about my voice, I'm talking about the the way that I the way that I tell stories, but also like the type of stories that feel most naturally for me to tell, that like come out of me without prompting. It's just like, this is what I want to say, have to say, and this is a way, because your voice is not just what you say, but it's also how you say a thing, right?
mm,
Some of
mhm,
that, like I said, some of that has come from me being a part of things where I was saying things I didn't want to say. And it wasn't like I was saying crazy stuff, but I was just like, I don't care about this. Right? Like straight up. I remember when I did, I was it was the one project in all of my years that I got fired from and was going to quit the same day.
Whoa.
Right? And then I was working, it was like a reboot of Bridezilla's.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And I literally could not have cared less. about what this project was about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just couldn't have cared less. And I realized what happened on that project, you know, was it was a series of things, and it was a very mutual departure. But what was interesting about that project was that I realized, oh, my capacity to tell stories is limited, and my excellence is limited to, I won't say limited, I would say it activates in the best way when I'm telling stories I care about. And when I don't care, or when I want, or if it doesn't resonate with me, I'm not even able to tell this story the best. Right? Like, there are some people who could like go into a show like that and like make it amazing because they really love telling stories like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm not somebody that judges any particular genre of television. It all is story, but I'm like I have a friend who's actually very, very good at like ensemble cast type shows. He's excellent at it, can pull story out of anywhere, right? Loves it. Not my thing. You know what I mean? Like those types of shows, you know, where, you know, it just wasn't my type of thing. But long story short, where the voice thing came in, it took me doing a show like that to realize like, oh, that's not a part of my voice. Won't do that again. So sometimes finding your voice is like the two parts of finding your voice is knowing what it is that you have to say and how do you say things. So like, I know that's something that I don't want to say. I don't have to say anything that has to do with that. So that helped me to be like, I think I care the most about this. I care about this. I care about that. I started journaling. Like, these are the things I care about. I care about community. I care about like seeing people. I care about people feeling seen. I care about the things that connect us, our emotions, our, you know, like I have like all these different little things that I care about. I care about spirituality and faith, right? And then I start thinking about how I tell stories, right? And so there's a way that I like to tell story, and I even that's the part where I'm like, I'm still discovering a piece of that. And some of that comes through affirmation, where other people are like, huh, this is really unique about you. That's really interesting. I really receive those things. But then also me figuring out how I tell stories, like you can't figure that out unless you just start doing stuff. Start telling some stories, start doing things, and not even just telling stories like this show on primetime television. I think about even at home, like I'm a Christmas fanatic, by the way. So even like this, the way that I do the holidays at our house is creative, and the way that we make it up a holiday that we celebrate, and we've been celebrating since my daughter was 3. You know what I'm saying? Like even that is I'm learning that every creative expression is a part of my voice. So that's what I would say to somebody that's trying to find their voice, is like, start eliminating what's not, what the things that you don't want to say, and then start paying attention to the way you're saying every creative thing.
Yes, that's some good nuggets right there. Start eliminating. Process of elimination. So what was your first job out of college?
So my first job was as a secretary at this production company in Washington, D.C. called Atlantic Video. So it was a production company that did like, they did a bunch of ESPN shows. They were pretty much like a production house, like a studio in DC, in downtown DC. And so I was the front desk secretary for them right out of college. Um, and then probably like a year into being there, they started laying people off and had to downsize or whatever.
Oh.
But while I was there, I had made connections with all of the producers that, you know, were running different teams there, and got contacts because I was just like, hey, I'm trying to get to know anybody in the industry. And so I remember getting, one of the producers there gave me just like a list of producers to call. And so I would come in and call them, you know, before work every day. Like I would just make a couple calls before work every day. And I remember calling them, and I didn't even know that these people were like executive producers. I just was like calling numbers on a paper. And I was like, hey, this is Alexandria Queen, and I just want to, let you know that I'm a graduate, I'm interested in being in production and da da da. And so I just kept doing that. But one of the women that I called on that list, she ended up hiring me after I got laid off from this job. She and I stayed in contact, and she ended up hiring me for my first freelance production job, which was Obama's first inaugural events. And that was how I got
Whoa.
into live event television.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. Okay, listen, Queen. Look at you, was already making Queen moves right out of college. Just making boss calls, okay, to executives.
I
Was
didn't
that
even
always
think,
was that in your you didn't think about it like that?
no. It's so interesting when I look back at that, because I had so much audacity, but some of it is like you come out of, I don't know, maybe it's every college. I'm of course I'm particular to Howard. You know how us Howard people are. So, but you come out of Howard, me specifically, I came out of Howard knowing that, like, okay, it's in your hands. Like, figure it out. You know what I mean? And so I knew that, like, every connection leads to something, sort of thing. And so this was just like my strategy. I didn't necessarily, I felt terrified calling these people. I didn't feel
Really?
like bossy. I felt
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm,
these are the things I need to do to get closer to where I'm trying to get. This was pre-Netflix, this was pre-streaming services, you know what I mean? So there wasn't a lot of production around me. And so
mm-hmm.
I didn't know, all I knew was like, hey, you do stuff that I think is on TV somewhere. So can you show me who to talk to, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really where it came from, knowing that, like, if I didn't create some proximity for myself to the industry, like to wherever I could find the industry, whatever person I could get in contact with, then I wasn't going to get there. My first class at Howard, literally first day, first class, the professor says, welcome to the School of Communications and intro to television production. So glad all of you want to enter the industry. Just so you know, 1% of you will be absorbed into the industry. That's the stat.
Wow. Okay.
Day one. So day one,
Day
I'm like,
one.
how do I be that 1%? You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm
Mm-hmm.
at. That's where I'm at. So I won't even say that. I can't even say that I was just like on some boss. I was just on some, like, I was focused on that stat. I was like, how can I be the 1%? What does it take? What does that look like? And then I just took one step in front of the other. It's funny, I today could take some notes from early career Alex.
Mm-hmm.
She was very unashamed.
Early career, Alex. You can take some notes.
Yes,
Ah.
she was very unashamed, and she just knew what was in front of her. She took one step in front of the other, and I sometimes struggle with that. The higher you go, you're like, "Ooh, what is the right thing?" And you start questioning too much instead of doing the next thing. What's the next thing? And that's it.
Mm. Oh my gosh, there's so many places I can go from all the things that you just said. Okay. Cause let me just rattle off a couple so I don't forget. One, it's like just the idea of how we move into these places where we just begin to overthink. We just start to overthink and over rationalize and we lose that fire, that spontaneity that just comes from not even thinking, right? That sometimes comes along with like youthfulness, or when you haven't had as much experience, you don't overthink it. You're just like doing. And that's like the second thing that I wanted to talk about is, I know you said, I wasn't really doing boss moves, but when you think about it, it's like some of the things that you were doing. I want to know if you were like, that's like just naturally downloaded into your DNA from a
Mm,
young age, because not everyone would have the perspective that you had when
mm,
homie said, hey, 1% of y'all is gonna make it. Look at you, already was in that 1% just by your mindset. I'm sure there
yeah.
were other people in that class was like, well, I guess I ain't going. I'm taking this class, but you know what? I'm probably not gonna be in production. Do you know what I mean? But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you didn't go there, you focus on, dang, 1%. Okay, how can I be that 1%? How can I be that 1%?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to become that? Because already in college, There
Mm,
was something, I don't know if that's like home, school, like I don't
mhm,
know what it is, but there's something that helped get you to even being there at that particular place in your life.
mm, hmm. I think
I
that,
know.
no, when I look back over my life, I think that I have been someone who I've known what I wanted. I've known that. Um,
Mhm.
that's been, like I was the person who applied for one college and my mom was freaking out.
What?
And she was like, how am I going to deal with this? You're going to get the rejection, and I was like, well, we'll see if that's not it. I wanted to go to Howard. And so I
Mm.
applied to Howard and that was it. you know.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess in some ways it was in my DNA. You know what I mean? Like it's a part of who I am. In other ways, and some of it is just like, I don't know. I attribute some of it to Baltimore. I feel like it's a Baltimore kind of a hustle spirit too. But I think
Mm.
that if I were to give, because I don't really like to say things like that. That like, oh, she's in my DNA, because I would hate for anybody to listen to this and be like, yeah, okay, yeah, she was born with it, so I can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, because
Yeah, yeah,
that's not
yeah.
true. And I think, because I do think that I very well could have had, I'll tell you what it is. This is what it is. It was in my DNA, but I had a practice of obedience. I trusted myself
Mm.
and I obeyed my instincts, and I trusted. And for me, I had a very strong faith as a young person, very much so believed that God
Mhm.
was speaking to me, leading me. And so I just didn't question, you know what I mean? And I think even
Mhm.
now, I appreciate this question, because I'm like thinking about it and I'm like, what was that about? And it was like, to apply to one college sounds crazy, right? But I just was clear,
Yeah.
I just was not, I had no questions, and I obeyed. That's what I felt. That's what I did. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of times we get clammed up. And this is me talking about me now, looking back at me, like even now, I'm like, I could see how doubt has clammed me up, not that I'm
Mhm.
not still making certain moves, but I could see over time that it was a momentum of obedience that led me into the next thing, into the next thing. I just kept obeying, and then I obeyed again, and then I obeyed again, and then I obeyed again. That obedience, call it God said, call it intuition, whatever works for you, but that's what it was. I felt a thing, and I went with what I felt. That doesn't mean that
Mhm.
everything worked out. I just went with what I felt, and I didn't question it. And I think that's the difference. Even if the drive was in my DNA, I think I could have very easily lost momentum had I stopped being obedient.
That's so good. The momentum of obedience.
Mhm.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Um, wow. So in terms of where you are now, I
Mhm.
mean, obviously you're still in the obedience lane,
Mhm.
but when what do you do when doubts start to come your way in terms of where you're headed, where you're trying to move towards?
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a real one, okay? So I'm gonna always tell you what it is. I've literally been in like a doubt fight
Mhm.
for a minute now. And what is working over the past, I would say maybe 6 to 8 months, maybe. What is
Mhm.
working is affirmations. Um, what's working is trusting my first mind. And so what that means is like, you have that thought, and then the thought is, I should do this. And then you're like, well, maybe. Mm-mm. First thought. Your
Yeah.
first mind is your best mind. So
Mhm.
for me, I've been able to get through some of the doubt by like maybe screaming and yelling, but going with my first thought, like forcing
Mhm.
my first thought, right? And that has broken the ice in certain areas of doubt, which has been helpful. Um, but I've been working on that. I have been working on that. And so it's an active space that I'm in. I think even when I conquer this level of it, I believe it'll come back, because I don't think that I don't know. I don't think that doubt is something that is here to destroy me. I think it's a part of fear and it's trying to keep me safe from in some way. And I'm the one that has to take ownership enough to
Mhm.
know that I'm going in the right direction and have ownership enough to say, hey, fear, I don't need you today. I'm good. We can do this. But that's it. Like affirmations for me, and meditation is helpful too, because sometimes this just gets busy.
Yeah.
You just got to calm it down, and I think meditation is different from prayer as well. I pray as
Mhm.
well, but I think meditation is something that has become very important to me as a separate practice, because it calms my mind. And sometimes we're not even actually doubting, we're overthinking, but we are limited in our language, and so we call it doubt. But it's
Mhm.
not doubt, it's just overthinking. It could be a lot of things. So if you slow this down and quiet your mind and are able to see things clearly, you could be like, no, I don't doubt myself here, I'm just feeling nervous. Or I don't doubt myself here, this is just reminding me of this old relationship. You know what I'm saying? it's
Yeah.
it's being present. So presence it has been really, really important in my life, over the past months, the better part of the year. And that's how I've been moving forward in areas that are have been feeling really scary for me.
Yeah. I just appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable to talk about. I mean, 6 to 8 months is a long time.
Hmm.
Um, but sometimes the things that we work through or go through go on like past a year. Or,
Oh
or
yeah.
you hear stories of people that have had to overcome after multiple years of really intentionally persevering.
Hmm.
So I really appreciate that you shared that. And yeah, I was listening. It was like a short little video clip on something that came up earlier today, and the person was talking about how we work at the things that we love, and this person was particularly talking about it like in relationship, right?
Hmm.
And that just came up for me when you were talking, because I don't want to say it's so easy, but it's almost natural to put in work towards like things that we are passionate about, external things, right?
Hmm.
Like our craft, our gift, a friendship, a marriage, whatever it is. But when it comes to working on self,
Woo.
you know what I mean? Like, and when you think about the idea of work equating to love,
Hmm.
and where people are always talking about self love, you know what I mean? Self-love is more than just let me go sit down and have a massage, let me go,
Hmm.
all those things that feel good. And I'm not downplaying those things, those are good and necessary and all that, but I'm just saying, like, when you are willing to put in the time,
Hmm.
right, to work on yourself, that is a form of loving yourself, and we
Hmm.
can't skip out on that. So I love that you just brought attention to that, because it's a
Hmm.
real thing that we need to all practice on the regular.
Yeah. And it's not, listen, I'm gonna take it a step realer for you, a little more real, is that it's not something that I did easily. I didn't sit down easily,
Mm-hmm.
like that was tough for me, because especially as creatives, we're like, oh, I'm gonna do this and following this inspiration. Oh, I have an idea. Let me you know what I mean? And it took me a minute,
Yeah.
because I was doing a lot of good things. I was doing a lot of good things. But then I was like, is any of this my thing? Is any of this my voice? Is any of
Mm-hmm.
this great? this is all really good, but am I great? Do I have great things to do?
Mm-hmm.
Am I shying away from the really great, incredible things that I feel called to do because the good things come so easy and they're so,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? So it took some real humility to sit down and be like, let me just be quiet for a bit. Let
Mm-hmm.
me just check this out. Let me check out what's happening in here and in here. Let me figure out why I need to be affirmed all the time. Let me figure out why I need compliments all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like just all kinds of stuff came up, and all of it, believe it or not, it might sound, I don't know if it sounds like not connected to the creative process, but it really is. It's like I was realizing that so much of the work that I was creating was wrapped up in like, do you like it? You like it? Is this good? Thumbs up? You know what I'm saying? Me whole time I'm missing out on like my authentic self. And that self was like, please let me out.
Yeah.
And that's who I'm working with right now. I'm working with her. I'm working with that authentic me. And I feel like that's what God is asking me to do too. He's like, I made you, and I like you. So, you
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Let's have all it. Let's bring her out. So yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. I can relate. Bring her out. Okay. Now you're married,
Mhm.
but you so obviously that's going to be a source of support for you, right? As you're in your creative process, your journey.
Mhm.
Outside of that, do you find that you have, some key people that really help you in terms of elevating you, or yeah, as you're journeying, those people that are bring a value to where you're going, and
Oh,
how necessary is that?
so many people. Oh my goodness. I can't even list them all. I
Mhm.
I stay I one of the it's funny when I filled out my I don't remember what I ended up putting, but when I filled out my like a little prep document for you for this thing, it asked what is your title in 3 words. And I was
Mhm.
like, producer, community community advocate, community curator, creative community. Like I was like going because it's so hard. As much as I'm a producer, I am like a I I am a community sorry about
It's
that.
okay.
I am a community advocate. Like I'm just like so big on bringing people together and making connection, and I believe that God has left some of his greatest jewels in everybody. And so I
Mm.
feel very pulled. I think it's one of the reasons I really love unscripted television. And unscripted television for me has been, a lot of docu-series, specials, things like that. I really love the little gems that are hiding in everybody, right? And so,
Mhm.
that being said, when you ask me like who's around you, like it's a part of my life's practice to just be connected to people. I don't work. As a person, I feel like my mechanisms, it doesn't work well outside of the context of community. So the people that prop me up is everybody. It's everybody that I know. Like
Mm.
I have in my industry, I definitely have like some friends. Actually, there's a group of friends that I have that we moved to the West Coast together. We all came from DC, and we all came here like the same year, like a month or so after each other. And we've
Wow.
been here. And we all like, everybody's in different spaces now. One of my homies, she works at MGM now. Other homies at Apple Music, but we've all come up under all of these shows. And
Mhm.
those folks are like my family in a particular way. They keep me really grounded and keep me like, remembering why we all started. So that's really helpful. And then I
Yeah.
have another group of people who are like more my senior, that are kind of like mentors, and none of them are like official mentors, but I look to each of them for guidance and advice that's like a couple yards ahead of me. You know what I mean? And so I have people like that are
Mhm.
executives and run big production companies and run showrunners and things like that. And then I have people like honestly, like my most valuable like support it people are people that like are not in the industry at all. They're
Mm-hmm.
just like my friends and people that I just have a breakfast with or have a coffee with, or don't we don't talk at all about what we do. We talk about how we're responding to life. And then
Mm-hmm.
that inspires me, and it helps me to like, just keep that balance. Also, like, I know it's kind of like, I know the question was, well, I know you're married, but do you have any other support? But I'm telling you, that's the quarterback right there. My
Yeah.
husband, my husband is the quarterback. Like, that's the homie. And I think that we're there for each other, but in a lot of ways, like there's so many. I can't tell you the amount of like pitches and ideas that, you know, I've run past him before I took it to the big boss. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I've just been blessed to be surrounded, have other close friends, so it's just like I'm blessed to be surrounded by almost this like protective layer of people in all different realms that keep me like in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Woo! All right, now listen, we're gonna begin to start wrapping it up because I
Yeah.
I could have you on here for 2 hours. Let me tell you, but I'm not. I'm not, but I could.
Okay. Okay.
But let me ask this, okay? Because I want to see if there is something in your story in terms of how you became clear
Mm,
about moving into production, even though you
okay.
flipped. It's like at some point in time, you got clear about I'm moving in this direction towards
Hmm.
production.
Hmm.
And somebody listening might be struggling with clarity about I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what is my lane or like which way I should go in terms of what I should study, what I should get
Hmm.
a job in. What nugget do you have for that person?
Yeah. Hmm. I would say, I would say, I, I think it, it's a couple different things, but I think the first, before, I don't know that it's that you need to decide what you want to do, um as much as it's as important as it is to like get in the room or get in the space where you want to be,
Mm,
right? I just
yes.
had a virtual session. I'll share it with you if you want to share it with your team. I just did a virtual session. I curated a panel this past week, of some really incredible people in the industry, music, writers, directors, whatever. And it was called Invisible Jobs,
Mm,
Opportunities in Television and Film, and How to Break In.
mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we talked about, is that so much of how all of us, so much of like what connected all of us, even though we're all in different spaces and fields, is that all of us just like sought out where, like, what was closest to us that was closest to where we were trying to go.
Mm,
You know
mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for me, that started at a NBC affiliate station in my city.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think like I know a girl, I know so many people who start as a production assistant and then they become visual effects artists and then they become technical directors and then they become script supervisors. I think sometimes we get all wrapped up in like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going. The beautiful thing about TV and film, I think, is that you kind of don't have to be that rigid. You
Mm-hmm.
can you can jump in there any day, any
Yeah.
day. You know what I mean? I've had homies who were just like in between jobs and they PA'd, right? Didn't even want to
Okay.
be in the industry for real. You any
Yeah.
day you can jump in, get some exposure, get a sense of what is happening, and then you could talk to the next person. My husband, when we were back on the East Coast, he's in sales now, but he was an audio engineer when we moved here. We both were here to enter the industry in different phases or to move up. And he literally just was like supporting on a project. He was a PA on a project we did in Washington, D.C., got to know the audio engineer. kept in touch with him. The audio engineer ended up being part owner of one of the biggest audio companies out here and gave him his first job out here. You know what I mean? And that created a trajectory for him. I hope that I'm answering the question with this, and I'm happy to go deeper, but I do think that it's really, really important for people to stop looking for a magic button and to just get in the room. You know, like there's not a special form you need to do. There's, you know, it's just not here. You know, it's just like, get in the space, be willing to serve, be ready for that. And then as soon as you get in, pay attention. Because the thing that I see happen the most is that, you know, not everybody, a lot of times we're so in our heads about like where we want to go. It's like, you're not paying attention to who's around you. Like, what are they doing? What is everybody doing? And what feels like something that would be cool for you? You know what I mean? And just start serving people, start helping out. That's why a job of a PA is like, it was my favorite job. I loved being a PA because I could do anything I wanted. Like, you know, everybody thinks about PA as like doing runs and getting coffee. No, you get to actually talk to everybody and you have a reason to. That's what it is. So anyway, let me know if that answered. If not, I'm happy to like go deeper into it.
I think that was definitely answered the question.
Okay.
You know, we've had quite a few people come on and tell their stories, and it's almost like more confirmation or more of a reminder that there's not this set, you know, like there's not a set path, there's not a set formula. So for everybody that's kind of looking for that, it's like, you know, stop looking for that. And yeah, I thought your answer was amazing. Okay. Just get in the space. Think about the space that you want to be in, the environment, and, you know, just start there.
Yeah, that's it. It really matters. And I think this is know that like it is, and I think this is important for like the 20 somethings of today, because they got it hard. Social media is tough, you know, and social media portrays this idea that you should be further than you are, even more than what I felt like we had to deal with, you know, because when I was in college, Facebook just came out, right? Yeah. But I feel like that the teens and the 20 somethings, the young people, and I'm in my 30s, but I'm just saying, like 20 something, they have to deal with so much comparison. And I think it's just so important to remember that, like, if you're at a crossroads and you don't know which way to go, know that both ways are correct.
Nice.
You know, and I think if you can believe that, knowing that everything will work out for your good, that if you decide to go production and be a coordinator, and then that don't work out necessarily, trust me, it's going to point you in another direction, and it's going to point you where you'll never be able to build momentum unless you go one way or the other. Just do one, just do either or, you know. And the thing about the industry is that it's so quick. It's not like the corporate world, so it moves so quick. Like, you could literally take on a path and do it for the next 6 months and then completely change paths, and that doesn't matter. That was in the past. You know what I mean? That's something that I love about the industry. It makes it like challenging sometimes when you're just starting out financially, but it's fun, you know, and it's good because you get to just try it all. So like, just let loose, y'all. You know,
let loose, y'all. Yes. Yeah. Did you ever find yourself in a space where you had that conflict in terms of money versus creativity?
Yeah. You mean like, should I stay in this industry kind of thing?
Like, should I keep doing or pursuing the creative thing, or should I just go make this money because I got to pay my bills and do what I need to do financially? That's
let me ask you, do you mean like go like make this money, like work a job outside of television? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely had the thoughts, and I definitely had to do it from time to time to like piece things together when there was a huge gap between projects or something like that. I've done my share of Lyft and Uber and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was in Baltimore, the reason I came to Los Angeles is because at that time, this is where the ecosystem of entertainment was. Now, different cities are building ecosystems, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so, but at that time, that's why I came here. So in Baltimore, yes, I was like, oof, I need to just get a job, right? When I came here,
Mm-hmm.
there was enough going on. It was enough that I could like figure it out. And then even when I couldn't figure it out, I mean, and actually, I take that back. Well, that wasn't for money. That was for calling. There was a period. This is another podcast. There's a period where I left it. And listen, but this proves my point. There's a period where I moved to LA, was in the industry, left, and took a job at a church. Was moving up in was moving up in the industry and left to like lead a ministry like at a
Wow.
church, and did
Mm-hmm.
that for a year and a half, and then came back into the industry and then moved up. You know what I'm saying? That just proves my point that like whichever way you go, it works.
Whichever way you go, it works.
Yeah.
Either way, just get some momentum going. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm gonna have to invite you to come back on another time. Okay.
I would love
But
to.
do you got anything you wanna shout out or bring attention to, or any way people that can connect with you after this, social media, like what website?
Yeah. They can follow me on Instagram, AV Queen. Um, I am working to be more active there, sort of. But I'm always checking it. So if somebody messages me there, I'm also like very open to just like connecting with folks. So, if you ever want to reach out to me, my email, hit me at alex@createandserve.co. But that's it. Like I'm gonna tell you where I'm at and what I'm focused on building right now, is I really want to fix the pipeline from that gets local artists into the industry. Local artists, and when I say local, I mean the artists that kind of hit that glass ceiling of creative work, where it's like everybody, you got these videographers and these editors and these photographers on like these city levels that are incredible, but they're not moving to LA or New York or Atlanta, but they might be in Baltimore, and they might be in Detroit, and they might be in Charlotte or wherever it is, and they 100% can be in the industry, but they just don't know what that step is to like break them through. That's what my focus is right now, is really building a path and like just fixing that pipeline, because we need good people. We need good people in the industry, and it's like it's a little clogged up right now how to get in, and I want to dispel that.
Yes. All right. Pipeline. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. That's cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, keep you posted.
Oh, all right. Yes, definitely keep us posted. And I just thank you so much for again saying yes and being on and having this conversation with me,
Absolutely.
for being so open and transparent.
Only way I know how to
Appreciate
be.
that.
Only way I know how to be. But thank you for inviting me, and thank you for doing this for all artists. This is amazing.
Yes. All right, y'all. Well, we have been talking to Alexandria Queen-Sneed, aka Queen. You are definitely going to want to bookmark this and replay it, because there was a lot of nuggets dropped today. But you've been listening to For the Artist, a podcast brought to you by Creative M Projects. And you already know what it is, y'all. I want you to keep creating from the inside out. Peace.